This is Comic Geeks Speak, episode 35. This is Comic Geeks Speak. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Alex Simotis.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Peter Rios.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me. Who's got you?
All right. This is exciting. This is episode 35.
Yeah.
And it's very nicely timed because for our 35th episode here, we're going to take a little time to reintroduce ourselves to all of our brand new listeners thanks to podcast support in iTunes. Our listenership has jumped through the roof. Okay, before, it's basically doubled. Before iTunes, the maximum number of downloads we'd ever received in one day was 800, and now we're up to over 1,600 a day.
Wow.
So thank you, Steve Jobs and Apple, for putting podcasts into iTunes, and we welcome all the new listeners. We are very glad to have you.
Yes, definitely. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
So, what were you going to say?
I'm saying hello to the new listeners.
Oh, okay. and all the regular listeners will say, hello, Alex? This is only the second time you've been here. So I guess we'll just give a little rundown here of why we got started and how it all worked. Back in February, I read an issue of Wired magazine where they had a whole article about podcasts featuring Adam Curry and the whole bit, and I went, I work on the internet all day long. How did I not know about this? And I went, well, damn, I got to do this. So I called up my buddy Pete, and I said, Pete, we got to do this podcasting thing about comic books because we don't know anything else except for stuff about comics, so it makes sense. So we did it. We did our first 2 episodes, absolutely sucked because the sound quality was terrible. I mean, the content was decent, and we were still kind of afraid of the microphone and everything at that point, but the volume was lousy. But then we got some new equipment and stepped it up a notch, and since episode 3, we've been growing strong and cranking out at least 2 episodes a week since the end of February, so welcome to the party. I'll give a real brief history of myself. I got into comics when I was in like 6th grade, so however old that makes you. My first comic I ever read was Gru, still my biggest love, and I'm mostly a Marvel zombie, but in the last few years I have gotten into DC. Peter?
I've been reading since 1981, 82, mostly a DC head, although I do enjoy some Marvel. Late 90s, early 2000, 2001, I really enjoyed Marvel. Right now, I'm kind of backing off from them. Most of my background is, like I said, DC, coming off of Crisis, and loving the superhero side of comics, basically.
This is Shane. I started in 1984-85, and my first issue actually was G.I. Joe number 21. And I opened it up, and I looked, and there's no word bubbles. I'm like, what is this crap? There's no words. But after sticking with G.I. Joe for a little bit, I have always loved Batman as a franchise, and got a comic here or there, but stuck with G.I. Joe, then got into Batman and mostly DC. I enjoy a few Marvel things currently, more along Peter's timeline as far as Marvel late 90s, early 2000s, but I get a couple things now, but mostly DC head all my life.
This is Jamie. For those of you who want to get a mental picture of me, I am the Norm to everybody else's Cheers. I'm the token fat guy of the group.
Jeez.
And you're the shiznit pimp.
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody tells me I'm the shiznit pimp, so I must be keeping my pimp hand strong. But as far as I'm also the oldest, well, Kevin and I are the oldest of the group. I go back to the 70s reading, as you know, typical kid stuff, your Richie Rich, all that kind of stuff, and then eventually found the Marvel and the Avengers. Still my favorite book, but I read everything. Everything I get my hands on. Try to keep up with the history of the industry. I love the old stuff. I love the new stuff. Right now, I'd say I pretty much keep myself even between DC and Marvel. Kind of leaning more towards the DC, I will admit. Although I did just get a ordered the other day with a whole bunch of Marvel stuff that I've been looking forward to reading. So House of M, and just see what that's going to be all about. And but that's pretty much me. I'm your typical geek. I love the Star Trek. I love the Star Wars. I love anything that makes a geek. I love it, and you must revel in your geekery. Do not be afraid.
Yeah, embrace it.
I was going to say, we outnumber the norms. I'm sorry, we do. Everybody's a geek one way or the other.
I'm right there with you on the sci-fi stuff too, Jamie. Yep, definitely a Star Trek geek.
Hi, this is Alex. I started reading comics in the mid-'80s when the Star Blazers comic book came out. I had to go to a comic book store to get it, and that just opened the door for me. I started, picking up things here and there. I really latched onto the Hulk and went on from there to many, many titles, both Marvel and DC. I never really liked one more than the other, but I do enjoy the characters of DC as far as the icons go, like Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Captain Marvel, I guess. And I also enjoy the independent genre. For a while there, I was really intrigued by all these independent books coming out, black and white, and once in a while we get an issue every couple months. Whenever we got lucky, back in the when they were really truly independent, when there was there was no one there to these guys did it themselves. Maybe there was a handful of publishers that would help them, but mainly independents were done by people. Creators,
as opposed to those machines that were creating comics.
Yeah. I should have said creators, but in any case, that's my background. But yeah, I also like this, the sci-fi stuff, Star Wars, Star Trek. But Star Blazers is the.
Alex was actually the first person I ever talked to that remembered Star Blazers. Everybody else ever talked to, no, I don't know.
Well, that's funny because Alex was the first person that I talked to as well. I was working at the comic book store before he started working there. And I had bought a whole mess of videotapes, season 2 of Star Blazers, and then I was pressed for money and I wanted to sell them, and I actually sold them to Alex. You were. I don't even know if you know that you bought them from me, but it was done through the store. You bought season 2 on videotape, didn't you?
Yeah, but not all of them. A handful of them I did. So they might have been yours.
Yeah, because I don't know that I ever finished buying the whole set. I had bought it from the comic store, but then I kind of regretted buying it because of the money. But Alex was a customer at the time, and he was like, "Oh, I wish I could buy them." And I'm like, "Well, we don't have them at the store, but I can sell them to you, and then you can buy the rest of them from the store." Maybe that was it. So you bought as many as I had, and then didn't buy the rest. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, everybody I talked to no, I don't remember that. I'm like, how do you not remember that? But Alex was the first person, and this was just 10 years ago. So up until that time, nobody I ever talked to remembered it.
And we just had Alex hosted a Star Blazer night.
Yeah, talk about geek.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I know my geekness is more powerful than all your combined.
His whole coffee table was covered with Star Blazers books and
international
DVDs
books,
and all this stuff.
The cake put me over the edge.
Yes,
I realized that.
The happy anniversary Yamato cake was just right over the top.
But I was surprised there was no picture of the Yamato on. I thought you'd get one of those computer pictures printed on the cake.
I had it written in Japanese. That was from the computer. But
could you imagine being the cake person who has to make that? Happy anniversary, your mama? What?
I actually typed it out for them on I printed it out from the computer so there wouldn't be any question on what I wanted, because I knew there would be someone to be like, what?
And what was that documentary? Can you buy
that?
That
Was
or
good.
Yeah, it's
that was really
available. Can I give
absolutely
a little
plug?
Yeah, it's starblazers.com. It's the website from the company Voyager that actually produces all the tapes. It has the American rights to the Yamato franchise, so they made this documentary out on Star Blazers and the Yamato franchise in Japan and how it became Star Blazers and such. So it was really interesting. If you like Star Blazers, you have to have it.
It was really interesting.
That was a great
it was an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a substantial thing. It's not just some cheeseball half an hour.
Well, I don't know if the rest of the guys do this, but when I got home from Alex's that night, I went on the computer. They had those toy commercials on at the end. I went on eBay and I found one of those play sets and I shot it off to Alex. I'm like, buy that. Come on, buy that.
I couldn't believe it.
I never
even saw that. Of all my because I used to. When I used to get the Star Blazer stuff, it'd be from, sometimes I'd have to order it from Japan, and I couldn't even understand the order form sometimes. It was all in, Japanese or, really broken English, so I was kind of hoping that, I was able to
Getting what you want.
Yeah, and most of the time, it took weeks. I mean, I would like send off that check, and maybe like 6 months later, the UPS guy would come knocking on my door, and this package would come, and it was like it looked like one of those like. Suitcases or chests people have with all the stickers from where I had been.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like in Japan, it had been like California. It was crazy.
If you're a Star Blazers fan and you had a crush on Nova, don't watch the documentary.
Because we got to see the woman who did the voice.
Yeah.
And of course, it has been 20 years later.
Right.
Hopefully, she's not listening.
Yes. I mean, maybe the 20 years have been
Right.
unkind. Maybe
Right.
she was hot when she did it, but yikes.
I still love you, Nova.
All right.
Wild Star.
So it's
That's Deathlock.
it's very appropriate that for our 35th episode, we are going to announce the winners to our contest that we just had. The contest was to help us come up with a tagline, because every great thing, show, book, whatever needs a tagline. So we let people submit entries, and we received 34 entries. And the way this is going to work is we have 5 runner-up prizes to give away, and that will be a City of Heroes t-shirt, courtesy of UpAllNightGaming.com. The whole contest was sponsored by UpAllNightGaming.com. And then the grand prize winner receives a copy of the computer game City of Heroes. So we, Peter, Shane, Jamie, and I all picked one that we personally liked. And on the forum, we allowed the listeners to vote for their favorite. So that's 5. Those are the 5 runner-ups. And then the 4 of us together decided on the grand prize winner. So I will start with the... I don't know, maybe should I read them all for our listeners?
Sure.
It won't take that long.
Yeah.
All right, we got... Just because we read comics doesn't mean we can't kick ass. We geek harder than anyone on the internet. We geek hard so you don't have to. Because we care. And this is a good one. No right-wing wackos here, only night-wing wackos. We got your link to the books you need, telling you the truth since 2005. Your source for comic news and reviews. We feed your comic need, where a geek can be a geek. More addicting than Speedball. What's the shape of your geek? Feed your geek. The world's greatest comics podcast. I'm loving it. I think McDonald's would have a problem if we used that one. Home of the sexy bitches. That's right. I like that one. Are you leet enough? We talk with text bubbles. Living life one panel at a time. Listen to Comic Geek speak, because we all need to know someone who understands our geekiness. So many books, so few girlfriends. Peter is not gay, damn it. Where Comic Geeks speak. It's just so entertaining. I should let you read that one, Shane. Comic history, insight, previews, and reviews. We know what we're talking about. With great comics comes great comic geekery. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time. The world's mightiest podcast. Geek Your Pod. Stronger than the business end of a super orgasm. Comic Geek Speak does all its own stunts. The lowdown before you go down to the comic store. And last but not least, Comic Geek Speak, throwing professionalism right out the window. So I want everyone to know that for the voting, the only person who knew who submitted these was myself. These other 3 guys were left in the dark, as well as our listeners online. I didn't tell them who wrote what, because I didn't want anybody to be swayed by people who participate frequently in the show. So online, we actually had a tie, but the one guy who tied for one also won another one of our prizes, so we canceled him off the tie. But that was the world's mightiest podcast, was sent in by Chris Whittington. And so the one that will be winning, which had a tie, was Living Life One Panel at a Time by Tim DeMar. So Tim, you will be getting a t-shirt. And then let's see. Peter's pick was Comic Geek Speak, the lowdown before you go down to the comic store. That was sent in by Bob Shacklock. I like that way that rhymes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of catchy.
Shane picked, with great comics comes great comic geekery. That was sent in by Drew M., who also has a podcast. I think it's drewm.libsyn.com. Is that? I think so. Well, it's
something like
you
that.
can find it on it.
There's a link on the blog spot, isn't there?
I think so, yeah. Jamie picked so many books, so few girlfriends.
Story of my life.
That was sent in by Tom Martinek. I picked We Geek Hard, So You Don't Have To. That was sent in by Derek Coward. Or maybe it's Coward or something, I don't know. It looks like Coward, but that's kind of, maybe I don't know how he pronounces it. And so all those guys will get T-shirts. And then the grand prize winner is Uniting the World's Mightiest Heroes, One Listener at a Time, sent in by Chris Whittington. So he will get a copy of City of Heroes.
Congratulations.
All that is courtesy of UpAllNightGaming.com. They have a whole forum and blog all about video games and everything. So if you're into video games of any kind, make sure you check out UpAllNightGaming.com. I was going to say something, and now I totally blanked
Thanks
out.
to everyone for entering. It was a lot of fun
Throwing
reading
out the
them.
professionalism right there.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yes.
there you go.
Out the door.
We never can have a perfect podcast.
I saw you guys have displays of yourself, pictures of yourself on the blog, and I think that should be your tagline right under your picture.
Yes, that would be a good idea. I really absolutely have no idea what I was going to say. But we did have, 34 entries is good. Our last contest, I think, I had, 4 entries or
Right,
something. So
right.
we've gone up 30, and hopefully when we're ready to announce the next contest, we'll double the, have even more. Let's go for 100 entries next time. That'd be great. So thanks, everyone. And, I know what I was going to say. If you won, make sure you email us your snail mail address so that we can get this stuff shipped out to you right away. All right. I want to give you an update and bring new listeners up on a thing that I'm doing. In September, I will be riding my bicycle 150 miles in order to raise money for the MS Society. It's a 2-day ride that we ride across New Jersey and then back the next day. They're looking to attract over 7,000 riders in it this year, so it's a big deal. Last year was over 6,000, and it's just growing every year. So I have to raise money in order to benefit. Currently, I asked listeners for $1 each to help me get. I needed $250, and I figured 250 people could just donate $1. Well, no one has donated $1. Everyone has donated more than that, at least $5. Every pledge has been at least $5 now. I have now crossed the $200 mark.
Cool.
So I am only $50 away from my minimum goal, but I'd like to get $500 because I know that the listeners are being generous, and I think there's more people out there. If you would like to donate, there is a link on our blog at comicgeekspeak.blogspot.com. That link will take you right to the MS Society's webpage where it's all official, and you can put in a credit card number if you would like. And again, all I'm asking for is $1. If you want to give more, that's great. But if you only can afford $1, that would be great too. So thanks everyone who has given to me, and I have until September, so keep them coming. And I did do a little Book of the Month Club update, but I just wanted to remind people, in case they didn't hear the little update, that our next Book of the Month Club for July is going to be Daredevil, Guardian Devil. It's the first 8 issues of the Marvel Knights Daredevil run, written by Kevin Smith, art by Joe Quesada. And if you're interested in picking up the trade or the hardcover, InStockTrades.com has given us a special 40% discount on either the trade paperback or the hardcover. So their normal discount is $35, so you get an extra 5% off. So if you want to read either of those, go to InStockTrades.com.
That's another reason why we love them.
That's right.
And that's an automatic discount, correct? As soon as you go
Right,
on
you
there,
just
it's
go and
automatically.
it's
You
on there.
have
You don't
to-
have to enter a
right.
code or anything like that. It's just already discounted.
And if people want to know why we changed it, it came to our attention that Earth X, which we had originally decided we were going to go with, is out of print. And we wanted to make sure that anybody who wanted to read the book would be able to, and would be able to get it readily available. So it looks like in the coming months, the hardcover was just resolicited, so maybe a couple months down the road, a couple book clubs down the road, we'll go back and we'll do it. But we kind of thought it would be better if we could get something that was in print so that we could include as many people as possible.
Yeah, we do still want to do EarthX, and I think at least one person on the board posted that, hey, they had it at my comic store and I already bought it. Now you guys aren't doing it. We will do it. Hold on to that.
Yeah, we promise you we will go back
Yes,
to it.
as soon as that hardcover hits the shelves, we will put it back on the schedule.
Jamie, do you want to talk about what Book of the Month Club is, just for people who may not know?
Okay, for what people don't, for our new listeners, Book of the Month Club, we pretty
And for
much...
Alex.
And for Alex. We decided we were going to rip off Oprah, and we were going to tell you a book that we thought was worth you reading. And since one of our main goals in this podcast is never to do a spoiler, you'll never have to worry about listening to us, at least during a normal broadcast. We will, if we do a spoiler show, we're going to tell you up front it's a spoiler show. But during our normal talking, we don't want to reveal things. So it's very hard for us to talk about certain books. So we decided we're going to tell you a book to read. You're going to read it. We're going to give you a month to read it. And then we're going to do a special podcast just solely about that book. We'll dissect it. We'll talk about what we liked about it, what maybe we didn't like about it, what we wish they would have done differently. And just a way for you, the listener, to keep up with us in case maybe, you haven't read that book or you've been thinking about it. Just, more of a way, an interactive way for you to have fun with us. Go through and we tell you that we want you to email us your comments, whether it be just written or an audio clip. We'll play those. This last one we just did, Crisis on Infinite Earths, which you can listen to, you can download. We had a gentleman who was doing his master's thesis on the Crisis, why they did what they did. So I don't know if we're going to do that with the new one we're doing with the Daredevil, but it should be fun. We have fun doing it. It kind of, even though I read them when they were coming out, I'm going to have to go back and reread them just to refresh myself on the topic. So it's a way for us to kind of dust off some tomes out of our library and just have some fun.
Stuff we've been meaning to reread.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even stuff we've been meaning to read the first time that I've just
Slacker.
had for a while.
Slacker.
So that's pretty much that's Book of the Month Club. It was kind of my brainchild, and hopefully everybody will enjoy it, and we'll do it for a long time. And I promise you, we will get back to EarthX.
Right. I think the track that we're trying to do with that is a DC, a Marvel, and then a non-DC
Probably,
Marvel,
exactly.
and then go back to DC and so forth.
Yeah.
All right, another little update. I have added a new color to our repertoire of T-shirts that are available. I have added pink for all the ladies out there who would like a T-shirt, or for all you husbands who want to adorn your women in comic geekery. Yes, you can now order a pink T-shirt. Again, you can order our T-shirts from the blog. It's comicgeekspeak.blogspot.com. They're only $10. That includes shipping, so it's not an outrageous amount of money. I think now we will move into listener emails, because I got to tell you, we got a boatload of email.
I love emails.
I'm getting 3-4 a day now.
Nice.
Easy. So it's great. So if you're thinking about sending us an email, please do. We love it. We will read all of them.
I love hearing the emails and
On
seeing
here.
that the forum keeps growing.
And I just as I said that, we got a new one here that I didn't even read yet, so I'm going to save that for later. All right, let me find the first one. And we have lots of Stump the Rioses here too, which is great.
That's
they're all
great.
vying for that for the
V for
V
Vendetta.
for Vendetta trait that I announced.
Yeah, I don't know when. Do you
That's a
remember the
great book.
date that you did that?
It was yeah, I do.
Should have written that down.
It was episode 33 and 34. So when did we
That would have
tape
been
those? It was a Friday night.
24th or
It was a Friday
June
night before
24th or
Alex's.
25th.
Saturday, actually.
Well, we went to Alex's on. Oh, that's
Saturday.
because we came and did it. That's right. It
Yeah,
was Saturday.
it was Saturday.
Whatever that. So what date is that Saturday?
Let me look up my
22nd was a Wednesday.
What day was
26th?
your party?
25th.
26th?
25th.
25th. So any email that's
Before the 25th doesn't count.
right.
So we actually.
When did it
Wake up,
air?
Alex.
That's the other thing too. Is when did it air?
Oh, it didn't air till later than that though.
Right.
But we'll count the 25th because That's close enough.
Okay.
Okay. So here's one. Well, see, I gotta find one here. Okay. Here we go. Here's one from Brian Cooksey in Nashville, Tennessee. He says, "Hey guys, you've got a great show. I'm listening to number 32 now, and it's one of my favorites. I really like the discussion of the 90s in episode 28 too. I'd like to hear your opinions on the various celebrity comic writers such as Kevin Smith, Joss Whedon, Alan Heinberg, and J. Michael Straczynski, who came in from other media to work on comics. I think the ones who do well in comics are the ones who understand how to work in a visual medium. What do you think? By the way, Brian, I think your bike ride idea is a great one. I hope everything goes well for you, and I've pledged a few bucks towards your goal." Well, thanks, Brian. I appreciate that very much. So,
Opening up a can of worms there.
yeah.
Who did he? Who's Smith, Heinberg, Straczynski, and who?
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon.
So, well, we have
What
probably
about
a
the guy
lot to
from the
say
real
on
world?
that. Huh.
What'd you say, Alex?
What about the guy from the real world? What was his name?
Oh, Judd Winnick.
Judd
Winnick.
Judd
Oh.
Winnick.
Well, he's
That's not really a Hollywood
Yeah,
thing,
that's
I
not- yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
I mean-
we can cut him some slack because he
Frank
actually
Miller's
was work-
Hollywood. Remember?
Who?
He wrote Robotech 2. I mean, RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
So does Frank Miller count?
No.
No. Well, I mean, so far, I haven't read any Heinberg stuff yet. I don't think, because he's doing Young Avengers. I'm waiting for the trade. Kevin Smith has proven he can write a hell of a comic if he can get it out. That's our biggest issue.
Yeah.
He's too busy with doing his movie stuff to concentrate on the comics. But when he writes them, they're great.
Yeah.
He's too busy writing a diary blog on his website.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Joss Whedon has written exceptional stuff on some of the Astounding X-Men.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that very much.
Astonishing, not astounding.
Astonishing.
Is that
Whatever.
what you
Yeah, I just said astounding. Yes.
keep saying them because you know what? I'm going to make a list of all the ones you said because they cracked me up. The astounding.
You'd never have any idea that I ever read a single comic in
know.
my entire life.
The scary thing is next month, out comes the Astounding X-Men. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I was like,
was
really?
gonna
I
say,
don't remember reading that.
Don't joke. That could happen. I mean,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's Uncanny X-Men, Astonishing, then
Flabbergasting
the
X-Men.
Astounding.
got 10,000 X titles.
So he's doing well. I mean, this guy Brian probably has a good point when he says if they worked in a visual medium, then they understand comics because
Yeah.
it's visual as well as.
Has there ever been anybody who didn't work in the visual medium that would we consider a celebrity that wrote a comic?
Well, like Brad Meltzer's a writer.
Yeah, novelist.
I mean, I guess there is some sort of visualization in your mind. but-
Harlan Ellison has written
Harlan-
some
uh-huh.
comics.
Peter David. He certainly writes novels. Did he start novels first or comics first?
He was actually business end.
Yeah, he
He
was
was
an
like
editor, wasn't
Marketing or
he?
no?
Was
it
it?
Wasn't
was
he a
like-
mail boy or something first?
Yeah, he was in the marketing department with it was Carol Kalish, and then he just said, "I can write these," and they're like, "Yeah, you can write these," and then he started writing them, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Damn, he can write them."
Yeah.
So that's where he started, and then the books came after that.
Okay.
I think they definitely bring us. Looking at just these four, they certainly brought in new ideas, or not new ideas, but interesting looks at a way to tell stories.
Yeah.
Straczynski always starts off really, really, really strong. I give that to him. I think he starts off really strong, and then sometimes it kind of slips away. Rising Stars kind of slipped away,
Exactly,
and
yes. That,
this
I remember
Amazing
reading
Spider-Man.
that,
Even-
and it
yeah,
started
even-
out was so intriguing, and I couldn't wait for the next issue to come out.
Mhm.
But eventually, I eventually dropped the title because
Yeah.
it didn't
So
go
did I.
anywhere.
Right.
And that unfortunately suffered from the whole change of artist thing too. It couldn't keep a consistent artist. That's one of another reasons why I dropped it, because the whole title seemed to fall apart. As far as my
The
opinion goes.
only one that I've read of his that I have been absolutely pleased with is, well, I've only read the first hardcover, The Supreme Power. Those first 12 issues are knock 'em dead. There's not a bad one in the bunch. Every single one is just amazing, more amazing than the next. And Tasha read it too, and she was like, wow, that was good. With Amazing Spider-Man, again, he started off the whole Ezekiel thing. I was like, ooh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Where's this going to go? And then it went nowhere, and I was like, okay, I don't really, I mean...
Yeah.
And now he's going to be writing, FF or whatever, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I really don't care. Like, I love FF, and I'm not sure I have any desire to read it. I will probably buy the first trade whenever it comes out.
I didn't, but I picked up. Jamie recommended me pick up the issue, and I did.
Yeah, I picked up the first 2 issues, and granted, we were given one when we went down to Wizard World, but I decided I didn't want to read that one so much as I wanted to see what the regular one was, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both of them. For a starting up, he didn't forget about what was going on before. He kind of brought in the whole, kept the whole storyline, where sometimes when you get a new writer in, he'll just dump the storyline from before. He kept that. I almost, I do all, like most of us would do all the reading on, the Throne. And I almost fell off the Throne reading the one panel with, and this isn't spoiling anything, but it's, Nick Fury has to copy something in the Baxter Building, so he walks into the copy room. Reed tells him where the copy room is, and the Thing just found out that he now has more money than Bill Gates. So he walks into the copy room. There's a Thing sitting on top of the copier with his pants down, and he's writing a note, "Dear Bill Gates," and Nick Fury stops, looks at him, and the next panel you see Nick Fury down at the local Kinko's. Yeah. You need to copy this. And it was absolutely hilarious.
Yep.
But and I read the second one, and it was just to me just as good as the first one. So I'm interested to see where he's going to go with it. And Mike McKone artwork, if you like his artwork, it's not his best. The inker on it, I don't think, is that good. But it was worth a read. As far as I'm concerned, as far as what he's saying about the pardon me again, I don't think so much they're working a visual. I think the best of those that he gave are the ones who can write the dialogue.
Right.
I think Kevin Smith, he isn't so much a visual director as he is a dialogue director. You just listen to his movies. I can just listen to them over and over again. I've seen Clerk umpteen times, and I will still laugh at it. I will still find a line here or there that I just didn't remember from the last time I watched it. And those are all his movies. I can watch them over and over again, and you'll catch something new. Straczynski, again, dialogue. You watch Babylon 5, and you can't tell me any of his written episodes, which are most of them. The dialogue in that is fantastic. Joss Whedon, again.
Buffy is all of
Yeah,
them.
Joss Whedon, the ones that he wrote and directed are some of the best ones, some of the fan favorites. So I think it's more of a dialogue-driven that these new guys are bringing more than working in a visual medium, putting it into a comic medium. They can get because you can throw in, when you're doing the script, you can throw in where they're going to go, and you can, if you have a good artist, you can let the artist take and put them, you can give them okay, they're in a room in the Baxter Building. This is what they're saying. But if they're not saying anything interesting, it doesn't matter if you tell them they're in a room in the Baxter Building. It's more of what they're saying, and that's what I think they bring.
I thought Straczynski's characterization on Spider-Man alone, his Spider-Man was great. I think he fills how Spider-Man is, and the little quips between villains and whatever. I just read something, and I cannot remember where somebody said that they thought Spider-Man makes those remarks to keep himself sane, to keep his mind racing on what he's doing, because if he's not making them, then he's going to be worried about something's going to happen to him, Mary Jane, whatever. But I thought Straczynski's characterization of Spider-Man was excellent.
I have to say that about Kevin Smith's Daredevil. I'm not a big Daredevil connoisseur like Kevin is, but I just remember reading those first 6 issues of his Marvel Knights run, and I thought, first of all, the dialogue and the writing, it took more than, you couldn't sit on the throne and read one of these because your legs would fall asleep. You'd have to pick it up and take it to your room and finish it, because there was just so much. And there was word, I remember there was a word that I had to look up in the dictionary, and I can't remember what word it was, but it was no, it wasn't and it was something. The definition was a magician.
Prestidigitator. Prestidigitator.
That's the word. I can't say it, but that's the word I had to look up because I never even heard of it before.
It's a good gaming word in some of the magic in Dungeons and Dragons. Prestidigitation.
That's one of the Bugs Bunny cartoons, right? Prestidigitation. He tries to. You want your Looney Tunes?
I have. I don't remember that one.
If it's not in Star Blazers, he doesn't care. Right?
The one thing that he brings up, though, not specifically about these writers, but I don't mind where a writer comes from as long as they're good. I know there are some professional comic book writers who are like, oh, this slate of Hollywood writers, blah blah blah, and I'm like, don't be jealous.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
I mean, they're
yeah.
writing damn good dialogue, and
That's right.
and you know,
It's a good story. It's a good
yeah.
characterization. Good dialogue. Screw it. I want to read it.
Yeah.
If it's good, I'll read it.
Do you guys remember in the mid '90s about the whole like push for English writers? You know,
Yeah.
because of the whole Vertigo thing, they were trying to introduce a lot of English writers into the American audience, and I mean some of them succeeded, like Neil Gaiman, I think Peter Milligan. I know Peter David is English, but I think he's American. I mean, I think he's more of an American writer, but there was a whole.
Wait, Peter David? What?
Yeah, I think he wasn't he
No.
English?
No.
I'm sorry.
I didn't say anything.
I thought he was English, but
Are you saying Peter David or Peter Milligan?
well, Peter Milligan. I did say Peter Milligan.
but then
but
you said
I-
Peter David.
David,
oh, okay.
yeah. But do you guys remember that? They
Yeah, I mean,
fought-
like,
sure.
Yeah.
As soon
Grant
as Karen
Hall.
Berger went over to in the late '80s, and she went over to Britain or England and just got everybody, and it was great. Artists and
Grant
writers.
Morrison came from there.
Brian Bolland came from
Yes,
there.
right,
I mean,
yeah.
even though he was doing stuff earlier than that, but
Brian Hitch.
Simon
Yeah.
Beasley.
Al-
Alan
Brian Hitch.
Davis,
Remember Simon
Alan
Beasley?
Davis, yeah.
Simon Beasley. Yeah, I mean that was a great influx of energy.
And a lot of those
Very much
guys
so.
are still doing stuff today that I love.
It was a lot of the guys that were doing like the 2000 ADs magazines over there in Britain,
Right.
and all those. Steve Dillon was over there. And,
Alan Moore.
yeah, well, he had been here before, but yeah.
Cool.
All right, we got another one. And what's funny is while we were talking, we got another email. So just to illustrate how the email is rapidly increasing, and it's great. This one is from Dave Dreyer. It says, guys, I just discovered your podcast on iTunes. I'm listening to your Batman Begins critique, and I like what I hear. It's like hanging out with your pals and shooting the shit. Some unsolicited advice of my own. I like the idea, in this particular episode, of a swear jar where you establish a word or phrase at the beginning of an episode that needs to be avoided, like mispronouncing Ra's al Ghul. You should mic the jar so we can hear the quarters being dropped in, and at the end of the month you should donate the money to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. Just a thought.
that's a good
Keep
idea.
up the good work, and I'll continue listening. Well, there's one problem with that is we don't have any extra microphones to mic a jar.
We
Dave,
have barely enough to mic us.
yeah, Dave, if you want to send us $25 for another microphone, we can do that. But no, the sending money to the
That is a good idea.
Comic Book Legal Defense Fund is certainly a good idea.
Yeah, we definitely want to think about doing something for that.
Yeah.
Because we already have the Perez. Anybody who says George Perez's name wrong, we
Yeah.
give him a smackdown on that.
Roz, Rays.
See if you can hear.
That sounds like a casino slot. Ding, 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 ding.
All right, let's see here. What is next?
That's a good idea, though. I like that.
Oh, well, I actually had sent Dave a reply, and then he sent back. He said, I just finished listening to your show about Crisis on Infinite Earths as well. Man, did that bring back memories. It also made this 40-year-old fanboy with a family feel almost normal upon hearing one of you mention your kids and hearing a dog barking in the background. Yeah, I'm definitely hooked. All right. Let's go back for some more here.
Somebody who has kids.
Yeah. See, a lot of them come with Stump-the-Rios, so I have to read them later when we do. Here's one from Ed Moore. He says, hey, guys, another top-notch podcast, number 33, that is. I, too, am a Marvel zombie, and I think I can boil down a very large problem that you guys touched on but never voiced. Joe Q is not a proponent of continuity. That's why he brings in high-profile creators to make a 6 to 12 issue bang so that they can later make money with trades. Marvel is falling victim to the let them do what they want while they are on the book mentality, and then the next Uber creators get to do what they want. There is no sense of loyalty to what has been created before, nor what us readers have read before. Marvel is in strictly money-making mode, and until they regain a sense of tradition, they will continue until the bling is what Marvel stands for. I don't have a problem with the business making money, but not at the expense of why we lifers read their books for. It's another attempt to suck the market dry, much like the early 90s cover stuff. And he says, Lone Wolf and Cub is the greatest single story ever told. Try it out. I'm sure InStockTrades.com will have them.
I'll totally agree with him on Joe Q. Just listening to a couple of his interviews over at the Wizard Show every now and then irritates the heck out of me.
Yeah,
His mantra is not continuity but consistency.
yeah. And it's
Why can't you have both?
right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm reading now. I'm almost finished the third John Byrne FF Visionaries trade, and I just had this little feeling in my gut today when I was reading. I'm like, everything's connected. They had the as seen in Avengers number 247 or whatever, and it was all
I love those
connected. And
little
it was
lines at the
going
bottom.
back, and there was stuff happening, and there were other characters in the FF. Some of the Avengers were in the FF, and you had this whole connection that a lot of doesn't happen as much anymore. I mean, there's still some there, and like I just was reading the Marvel Knights Spider-Man third trade, and all the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and somebody else showed up, and Daredevil stuff showed up, and so that was cool. It was like, ooh, some continuity, but not enough.
I think with Marvel right now, the continuity comes in when Brian Michael Bendis is writing it. If he's writing it, he will. His Daredevil, there are things that are happening in Pulse. When the Pulse, there's stuff that's happening in the Avengers. In the Avengers, there's stuff that's happening here and there. So I think in his little universe, he is. And I also have heard, I too sat in shock in a Wizard World forum when Joe Quesada said he didn't care about continuity, he cared about telling a good story. And then a year later, I heard him say that the good story didn't matter as long as there wasn't any continuity, and I'm just like, what the hell? Pick one side and stick with it. I mean, I think they're kind of leaning towards going back to that way, but unfortunately, they're putting all their eggs in one basket named Brian Michael Bendis, who is eventually his head's just gonna explode because he can't write everything that Marvel puts out. So
he's like Jeff Johns' evil twin or something,
He must have been cloned like 2 or 3 times, and that's how he's putting out all these books.
Do you remember in the 80s when Thor or somebody opened the Ancient Casket of Winters, and
yes.
every Marvel book had snow in it, like New York, it was the dead of summer or whatever, and everybody had snow. But
yeah, well, that was one of the big things that at that convention was the fact that was a part in the storyline where Thor decided that Earth needed their gods back, so he brought Asgard over New York City. And in all the Thor books, there it was. There was Asgard hanging over New York City. But then you went to the Avengers book, and there was no Asgard in the sky.
Right.
You went to Spider-Man, there was no Asgard in the sky, and that was the question. And that's when he said he didn't care about continuity. He more cared about was telling a good story, which... Right. That's not why we read Marvel. That's not why I loved Marvel. I loved Marvel just for the fact of what Brian said. When Byrne was writing it, there was that, when he was writing Fantastic Four, there was that continuity when if they used somebody in the Fantastic Four, or they brought somebody of the Avengers into the Fantastic Four, or somewhere in the Avengers book, they would make mention of that. If the X-Men showed up with Spider-Man, there would be a reason for it, and it would be talked about in both books.
Right.
It was one shared universe instead of a fractured universe of good stories.
The other one that was a big, other than the Thor and the Asgard over New York, was New X-Men, the Grant Morrison story where Magneto, basically tore Manhattan up to shreds, and never any mention in any other book.
No.
Yeah.
It was
no recovery, no
I
destruction.
remember reading that thinking, he basically consumed all of Manhattan. I mean, all the Marvel superheroes are in Manhattan. Shouldn't somebody have noticed?
He did say, he said something like he had something happen off in, Brooklyn so that all the other heroes could go there, and then he concentrated. Which it was an interesting... No, it was an interesting... It was because people were wondering where, so he said that. But my thing was, why didn't it affect the other books?
Yeah. Jamie's little rant there brought back memories of Heroes Reborn. Do you guys recall that?
Yeah.
And I remember Jamie specifically being very upset with it because, that was one thing Marvel always did. They never messed with their character's history. Where DC had with Crisis and had done it,
with a reason.
For a reason, yes, but they still had kind of messed with the history and the continuity of the character, where Marvel had never ever done that. Where you could pick up a Marvel book and it would kind of make sense if you picked it up, off the shelf, or maybe, several years back. There was still, something was always building on something from the previous issues, and that basically, was the beginning of the end for Marvel's continuity.
One of the biggest...
I'd forgotten that really irked me that much. But it just tells how much of crap I've actually had to swallow to come down to the fact that I'm not indignant about that anymore. But I Alex is right. I remember when that happened. I was just so pissed because that was the one thing, and that in renumbering books always pissed me off because I don't care what they said. That 5-year-old, they always say, well, the 10-year-old can't collect 400 issues. Well, baloney. Who cares? Let the 10-year-old get the books like I did. I started collecting in the hundreds. I never thought I'd have to go back and get it, but that's one thing they never did, and then they started doing it, and now
They do it like gangbusters.
I was going to say, now we're eating piles of crap sandwiches.
One of the biggest offenders right now is the current Black Panther miniseries. That's totally negating Christopher Priest's run because they're bringing like Ross, the character of Everett K. Ross, in early and early into the origin of Black Panther, like early years. It's kind of even his membership in the Avengers is being questioned. There's like all these kind of things that it's just. And here we have DC, who for 2 months now has been leading the market share, which they've never done. Every now and then they've had like 1 month, but now they've got 2 months in a row where they're leading in market percentages, whatever. Because right now, their entire universe,
cohesive.
its entire universe is there.
What were we just talking about with Star Sapphire? How they pulled
Oh yeah,
the original person.
Yep. I mean, it's
from,
just it's
supervillains.
It's amazing.
Uh-oh. Everybody, hold on to your butts. It's time to stump the Rios.
Don't hold on to my butt. I'll do that myself. Thank you very much.
All right, for all you new listeners here, that music means it's time to stump the Rios, which is trivia time for Peter. This Stump the Rios is courtesy of, well, he doesn't really say his name. They sent us an email, and it's a funky email address, and he never put his name on there. So, you'll know who you are when we hear the questions.
The Rios.
Question number 1. In the Who Remembers Scorpio arc in Defenders 46 through 50, who was Scorpio and who was his lackey?
Scorpio is, I think, Jake Fury, Nick Fury's brother, but his lackey, I have no idea.
Scorpio was Nick Fury's brother, and his lackey was a life model decoy of Nick. Yes.
Hey, I got half right.
You got half right.
Woohoo!
No, question number 2. Hal Jordan has had a cousin who was also in the superheroing business.
Airwave.
What was his real name and alter ego?
His real name was Larry. Wait a minute, let me think about Larry Jordan? Was it Larry Jordan? Or was it
Michael,
yeah.
Michael Jordan? I'm going to go with Larry Jordan, Airwave.
That is correct.
Woohoo!
Oh my goodness.
Kabam!
Question number 3. To whom is Doctor Strange married according to the laws of the Dark Dimension?
Clea.
That's correct. So
I didn't
not
know
bad.
that.
2.5 out of 3.
Yeah. Wow.
Nice one. This person also says, just got into podcasting and found your show. You guys do an awesome job, and I'll listen to you as long as you keep talking. So we thank you, Mr. No Name, whoever you are.
We'll keep talking as long as you keep listening.
That's right. And I think we have time for one more email here.
Just thinking we're only here because you
I'm going to throw something out.
Go
real
ahead.
Quick. We did a whole miniseries wrap the last time, top 5 miniseries.
Yeah.
And we talked about Marvel, the ones that they put out, and I forgot some, and I went back and checked. In like 84, 85, Marvel put out like just tons of Marvel's 4-issue miniseries, and we talked about some of them. I don't think we mentioned West Coast Avengers. That was actually a miniseries.
I forgot that was the miniseries first.
Submariner had one. Transformers.
Oh,
that was 4 issues. Star Wars.
I had that. I had that miniseries.
Firestar. She had a 4-issue miniseries. And then this one was actually 6 issues, and I think it was a little later. It was Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, the first Kitty Pryde and Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I just want to throw out some honorable mentions because I think some of these miniseries should be on somebody's top 5 list. Flex Mentallo by Grant Morrison, Frank Quietly. Alex agrees.
Yes.
And one of the most... Go ahead. What
It was awesome. Just superb. Well done by, Grant Morrison and Frank... How did you pronounce his last name?
Quietly.
Quietly.
Such a love of comics that one had.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Hulk, Future Imperfect by...
Love that one.
by Peter
Yeah,
David.
that was
and
good. That was a
What do you
two-issue
think?
or
My opinions on
one
that.
issue.
No, it's two issues.
Two prestige
There's
format
that-
issues.
Prestige
Peter
There's
David and
that
George
one-
Perez, not Kurt Busiek.
That one page
How
where
do
you
you say
open
it?
up and
I
you
don't
see Hulk's base, and it's got all this memorabilia. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
page.
yeah.
That
Rick
that,
Jones's-
that inspired my
That's
room,
Rick
man.
Jones's base.
Yeah.
that was great.
That's a great, and I'm sure that's traded. Golden Age, although we've talked about that before.
That
but
was on.
that's-
Didn't I put that on my list?
Yeah, I thought you did.
Did you?
I thought I did.
It was on somebody's list. I know that
okay.
for sure.
I'm going to throw it out there, and I might surprise some people in this room. OMAC by John Byrne, the 4-issue OMAC black and white. I thought that was really. First of all, I thought
Brother,
that
can
was.
you spare an eye?
What's that? Brother, can you spare an eye? Yeah. For me, that's my favorite John Byrne artwork. Not necessarily the story, but I think his artwork was so good in that. And but the story was really kind of fascinating, so I threw that in there.
It was
Hey,
an awesome time travel story.
You have to look for
Yeah.
that.
Let me interrupt here. Speaking of OMAC, we got an email today from Brian Miller. He says, I discovered your podcast after updating to iTunes 4.9. Wow. I really enjoy listening to your lively conversations while working, and sometimes you are even discussing a comic I am working on or a comic related to one I am working on. Instant validation. I like that. I really enjoyed your podcast on Crisis, and it is making the OMAC project more fun than ever for me to color. He says, I've added your logo to and a link to your site on our homepage, which is hifidesign.com. I hope the entire comics community discovers your interesting and outstanding show. In a sea of podcasts dominated by noise, your unique voice is loud and clear. Best regards, Brian Miller. He is a colorist, and he is working on OMAC.
That's
Very
great.
OMAC
cool.
project.
And he's also doing Birds of Prey.
Loved it.
And I looked at his site, and he's done a bunch of other stuff. I can't some Star Wars books he's done, and a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, thank you very much. That's
So
great.
that's really kind of exciting.
I have in front of me issue 3 of OMAC Project, actually.
good read.
And yeah, it is a good read, and I guess most of you will be getting that in your box soon.
I read it already.
Oh, you read it already? Did you get your shipment?
Yeah, I got my shipment, but I've been picking those up at the store.
Oh, so have I. Okay.
Bastard got it. I don't get mine till tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't get
I don't get mine
either
till tomorrow either. Yeah.
That's
And I love
Jamie
it.
is the shiznit.
Yeah.
right. That's
got
it.
connections.
Keeping your pimp hand strong, baby.
And I'm looking at like the little OMAC robots things, and that's got to be hard to color because there's some interesting computer design in
He
it.
has a really cool. He just started a brand new segment on his website today. I forget the name of it here. Let me see. He writes about it. It's called the Storytellers feature. And what he actually does is he has a page. He has several pages from Birds of Prey, and he kind of discusses each panel and why he colored it the way he did, and he gives some interesting insight into why he chose light in here and dark in this panel, or this kind of color to give this kind of mood. And as I was reading it, I'm like, wow, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's affected the way that I've felt about reading the comic, but I would never put that much thought into the colors. But subconsciously, it's probably affecting my read. So that's a very fascinating thing. You should check that
I'm
out.
going to go look that up because I read Birds of Prey every month.
It's hifidesign.com, hifidesign.com.
God, I'm so excited now.
And we have received another Geek of the Day. So this is very cool. Let me...
For those of you who don't know, Geek of the Day, we want you to either email us or record a 2-minute audio clip about anything you want. It's your chance to be heard. Maybe you can't do a podcast, or you just want to contribute to the show. You can talk about anything you want. Comics, comic movies. Doesn't have to be things that we've talked about.
Things you're involved in.
Yeah, things you're involved in. We just want to know a convention you went to, or something that happened.
Something you heard that we said that you disagreed with, something like that.
Okay, this
As long
one...
as you don't spoil anything.
Yeah, and just keep it relatively short, like 2 minutes or so, because
Right.
we don't want to hog up all our time.
And not lots of swear words. I mean, swear words are cool, but, hell damn fart, stuff like that.
This one's from Dylan Northrup, and the first...
Spaceships.
Whoa. What the hell?
Right out the window.
Brian needs like 4 extra arms over there.
I know.
Yeah, he sure does.
The first 2 seconds of this are kind of screwed up, but then it clicks right in, so just bear with it here.
Georgia. On your recent podcast, you guys were talking about the Cooper Perry Fund and the Rainbow Connection Kermit figure from Palisades Toys. Just had a couple of things to say about that. My father had encephalitis about 15 years ago. He was fortunate enough to survive, but and recovered, has almost no after effects from the incident now. But then I was scared as hell my dad wouldn't make it because of encephalitis. If I can give some money to some folks who will help with research that'll get this taken care of, and so that another son doesn't have to worry about his father dying from this, I'm more than happy to help out. I've also got 2 sons, Xander, who's 6 months old, and Valen, who'll be 6 years old in November. If anything happened to them, I'd be devastated. I got so much empathy for stories like this since becoming a father, and I'm very willing to do my part to prevent this from happening to them as well. I'll be looking for the Palisades booth at the summer conventions and do my best to pick up a Kermit and help the cause. Next up, I remember you talking about the Versus system you demoed at Wizard World Philly. I work with Upper Deck doing demos and organizing tournaments. I was also an early playtester for the game back when it was the Marvel TCG. If you guys are at all interested in tradable card games in general and like comics, I recommend picking up one of the recently released starter decks and giving the game a shot. There are 2 starter decks that were released this month as movie tie-ins. One is a Batman and League of Assassins starter for the Batman Begins movie, with 2 different versions of both Batman and Ra's al Ghul. See, I pronounced it right. The other is a Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom deck to tie into the FF movie. The decks are very straightforward and a great way to get a feel for the game. There's also information online if you want to look it up at metagame.com, starcityvs.com, and bsrealms.com. I mention those because either they're very good, or for VS Realms, I've written weekly articles for the past several months about strategy and card tech and such, so just want to give them a shout out. Lastly, here's a quick geek rant. With the convention season upon us, here's a gentle reminder to con-goers who like to wander around the exhibitors hall. Get the hell out of the aisle! The aisle is not where you have a conversation with your friend you haven't seen since the last Origins, Gen Con, Wizard World, Dragon Con, or whatever. It's where people are trying to walk around so they can look at the booths the vendors have gone through the time and expense of putting up to let us know what they'd like to sell us and what we'd like to buy. Also, if you're looking at a vendor's booth, go into the friggin' booth and get the hell out of the aisle! Not only will you get a better view of what you're looking at, you'll be out of my way so I can actually walk around the hall of the convention I paid to get into instead of having to wait behind your big ass blocking the aisle. If you want to hang out and talk to guys, go to the con suite, the food area, or anywhere that doesn't have booze on either side and people wanting to walk through the space you're hogging. If you want to look at the nifty keen item that makes you scream inside, "It must be mine!" go into the booth and take a look and get the hell out of the aisle. A quick postscript. Damn you, Brian Deemer. You got me saying friggin' all the time now. It's all your fault. Thanks, and keep up the good work, guys.
Oh, that was great. Woohoo!
Oh, my God, that was so dead on.
Amen.
Oh.
Kudos to that rant.
Oh,
Wow.
I'm a fat guy, but damn, some people just don't know how to walk. Walk, I say, walk with a purpose.
Yes,
Don't wander.
absolutely.
Hey, you're going to San Diego soon.
Yes.
Are you going to try to announce
yeah.
some kind of meetup or something at one of the nights or after the thing? Or
Well, we have posted on the forum, saying if anyone's going to San Diego, let us know because we'll hook up. We'll
Yeah,
exchange
definitely want to meet you.
cell
Definitely.
phone numbers or whatever, so we can pick a place to meet or whatever. Because I know it's very, very crowded in there. We have talked to a few people that we're going to be meeting, and if there's anyone else who's going and wants to meet, Jamie, Kevin, Tasha, and I, we're all going. So we would be more than happy to meet you. So please send us an email and let us know if you want to
Yeah, I mean,
hook up.
we can just say, we'll meet Saturday at 12:30 at the DC booth.
Well, we got to be
Just-
careful because we have to check the
panels,
I just printed
yeah, there's
out
so many panels.
52 pages of panels. I
Wow.
printed it out at work yesterday.
Jeez.
So talk about sensory overload.
I
Well,
saw
what
your
time-
little dissertation paper sitting on the table. Maybe it was your... Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's amazing.
what time does the show end? Like on a night? When does it end?
Late.
Oh, it does?
It's got to be past like 7 o'clock because a lot of the panels
Oh,
go
that's
to
not
like
that.
10
Go to
o'clock.
dinner then afterwards. Like meet up after the show. Like and then
Right.
you don't have to
Yeah, I
worry
mean,
about that.
well, we can do it during the show to see how many people are there, and then
Right.
say, okay, let's meet back here or at that door at 6 o'clock. We'll all go to supper, and then find a spot to go.
Supper.
I'd
You're
Stay
from-
out of the
he's
aisle.
from Pennsylvania.
Supper.
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 I want supper.
But But yeah, that'd be cool. So somebody out there start thinking about that. So
Yeah,
you guys
definitely.
Can meet up.
So anyway, thank you, Dylan, for that excellent.
That was a great
Yeah.
Geek of the Day. I love that.
Yes,
That's
that's
what
exactly
we
the kind of
mean.
thing we want.
Yep.
You got anything else on your list, Peter?
I do. We talked about the forum. I have on there a thread that I'm trying to get a little more.
You have to do this yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a little more entries in. I have a JLA versus Avengers thread, and basically I paired up JLA members with counterparts in the Avengers, and I want people to just go on there, and you have to go through all 66 matchups and pick which one you would think in each one. 66. I even put little pictures so you could
Yes, I
at
saw
least
that.
see them. And I worked hard on it, so people, you got to do. I just want to do it. It's fun. I want to see what happens.
What's that? 132 characters.
See, the thing is, we've done this already with just
you
amongst
guys
ourselves.
have done it, right? So you got to do it
and
again.
He's all
You
mad
gotta
that I
do it
don't
again.
want to go through 66
I
again.
changed some of them. So pick if you don't know if you're more DC or more Marvel, just look at the pictures and go, you know what? I think that one would beat that one. I don't care. And
Peter,
That's what I'm doing.
I read the list, and I don't recognize at least 60 to 70% of those characters. I have absolutely no Marvel or DC. I'm just like, who the
For
hell?
shame.
Who the hell are these people?
The retention of a sieve when it comes to this stuff.
Actually, one of the posters said, "And Brian, you call yourself a geek."
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of funny. But so go, and you're gonna in the thread. My email address is there. I want you to email your choices, and then what I'll do is then tally it down. We'll get a second round of those people who've won. We'll get different matchups, and we'll see how far we can go to see who is actually who could beat who.
Yeah.
So it's all on your votes. It's a total geek kind of thing, and I just want to have fun with it. So
I can't believe you put all the pictures on there.
I did. I worked long and hard
Man.
on that. Actually, while I was here at Brian's, I did that since he has
Oh, high speed.
high speed. Yeah.
Excellent.
The other thing I want to throw out there, which maybe Brian might mention as well, is I came across another podcast.
I just pulled the
You just
website
pulled it up?
just to verify.
I was like, I want to hear some other views out there, and there's some really great podcasts out there, and I downloaded it, and I start playing it, and it's a female. And I went, oh, this is kind of cool. And she enjoys 70s Marvel. She's into Star Trek. She also has a Star Trek podcast. I'm not quite sure what it's about other than Star Trek.
My future would-be girlfriend. So that's what I'm going to call her from now on.
She only has 3 episodes up. It's at ireadcomics.blogspot.com.
Yeah, her name is Lena.
Lena Taylor. I thoroughly enjoyed all her episodes. She does, in her third one, she talks about the Legion of Substitute Heroes, and I fell in love. I was like,
Yeah, Peter
how can
was
you,
jonesing.
anybody who knows that, you
And
know
in,
what I mean?
in the third episode, she gives splendid advice on how to hook up with a hot comics
Chick.
hot comic chick.
Yeah.
Hot comic babe. I think
Hot
she
Comic
said,
Babe,
yes.
yeah.
And it's very funny, and it's so damn true. So much of this, it's just a whole rant, and it's marvelous.
Right.
So you have to listen to
Yeah,
it.
it was really good. So she actually mentioned our podcast in like the second one before we even knew, so I definitely wanted to throw that out. She has some great views on a lot of stuff. So I thought that's great. Another,
Yeah.
another
Yeah, we're gonna
podcaster.
I definitely have to listen to her. I haven't
Yeah,
gotten a chance to
definitely.
listen to her yet.
Yeah.
But
We're actually going to meet her out in San Diego. She's gonna
Yes,
be there,
I
so-
know you're going to be out there.
We'll take
but,
pictures, Peter.
yes, lots
Thanks.
and pictures.
Thanks. Yes, but
you were saying she mentioned us. I just want to kind of how we're dominating the world. We were also mentioned on the View Askew,
Yeah.
Kevin
Yep.
Smith's board.
Yes, newsaskew.com.
Yes, newsaskew.com, and that was kind of cool just to read our own names there, and they give us nice little
Yeah,
nice
and we
little
didn't
kudos.
even
No, we didn't
solicit
even
that
know.
or anything.
No, that was-
One of our listeners actually posted on our board that we were on there, and we went, "Whoa, look at
Yeah,
this!
look at that.
Holy cow!"
Yeah.
Talk about a little moment of true geekiness.
Yeah,
That was cool.
that was great.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I was going to say something, and now
Well, we're almost
yeah.
at the end of the show. Jeff, some other things that we want new listeners to know about our show, Stump the
Nude
Rios.
list? Did you say nude listeners?
Nude
Good listeners.
We're all nude right now.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't say that.
True.
Although with Alex, you do get nude quite often.
Okay, silence. I don't even know. I lived with Alex for 2 years. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
But he's so
Every-
hairy. How
every
can
time-
you tell?
Oh,
Every time Alex would come over to my house, some point he would get naked.
Let's move on.
There was alcohol involved.
Yeah, I was going to
No,
say.
there was a
the
lot of
alcohol
alcohol
was
involved. Oh, yeah, I was pushing alcohol very heavily.
Hey, I've been out by the pool.
He's
I'm all ready
Greek.
to show my
What can you
tan
say?
lines.
He's Greek, so alcohol and nudity, they just go together.
But there were no teen boys.
No, and wives were present.
What kind of things do we have? We always do the announcements at the end. We have Stump the Rios. We
Yes,
talked about Geek
we want
of
you
the
to
Day.
send in Stump the Rios, and we don't get many of them. But if you want to ask your Stump the Rios questions in an audio format, you can do that too. Record
Sure.
yourself, send us an MP3 file. That would be fun. And
Right.
we just heard a Geek of the Day.
We have this. We have. I know we have some other Stump the Rioses, but on one of the other podcasts, I mentioned that if you do stump me, you would win V for Vendetta. So
the trade paperback.
The trade
right.
paperback.
So the first person to do that.
Yeah, and maybe what I'll start doing as part of that actor fund is if I get a question wrong, I'll throw 25 cents into a thing. I'll be willing to
There
do
you go.
that.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
That's kind of cool. What else do we do? I forget.
Join our forum online. If you go to our blog, comicgeekspeak.blogspot.com, there is a link on the right-hand side where you can go to our forum. So join our forum. It's very active. We have a lot of great discussion on the forum. That it complements the show, and some things are completely different from the show. So go join the fun there.
If you are anywhere outside of the U.S., send us an email. It could just be, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so, such and such a place, so that we can add to our map.
Yes,
Or
we have a
world
world
domination
domination map, which I have to update because we have Australia now, and I haven't
Right.
updated
Nice.
it yet. But as soon as your country is mentioned, then I fill it in red, and sooner or later we'll take over the planet.
Brian would
that is-
appreciate a postcard as well.
Yeah, I do have our snail mail address on the blog because I do have a postcard collection and a stamp collection. So if you're from out of the country and
Right.
you send a postcard, I get two with one stone, the stamp and the postcard. That just makes me happy.
And as we said, uniting the world's mightiest heroes one listener at a time.
That's right.
That's our goal.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'll have to work that into the show opening. At
Yeah.
Right.
That's cool. We talked about it a little bit. We have the T-shirts for sale. Vote for us at Podcast Alley.
I'm going to say go to palisadestoys.com and look up the Cooper Perry Fund and Rainbow Connection Kermit.
Absolutely, yes.
And we have a lot of links to other podcasters.
We
and
do.
We definitely want, because they support us and we want to support them. And I love listening to them, and I try to send them
Share the
comments every
love.
now. Yeah.
It's all about
And
share
we
the
also
love.
They're all different.
are members of the Comics Podcast Network, which is www.comicspodcasts.com, and that has it's basically one spot where all of us about all the different comic podcasts post information about our new shows and all that kind of stuff. And if send us an email, comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. I think we have said it all. And once again, we thank Bob at GameCircuit.net for hosting all our files, because with all this increased traffic, we'd never be able to do it without you, Bob. So thank you very much.
And congratulations to the winner again. What was his name?
Chris Whittington?
Chris Whittington.
That was an awesome...
Thanks for all the entries and all the emails we get. Keep them going.
We'll soon be announcing another contest, so keep listening for that. All right. Until next time, keep on reading.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See you.
Later.